Join me in my quest to build this motorcycle top box from a couple of old metal shelves. So the assembly for this whole box is fairly simple. What I've basically used is some sheet metal like this. This one is already slightly bent. This is from steel shelving, so it's still very dirty and it's going to need some sanding and painting afterwards, but we'll get to that in the end. So parts of the box that I've made up is two of these, which is basically going to be the top and the bottom. If you see it from the side, you'll see it's basically a rectangular piece of, or a rectangular shape, that's got four 45-degree angles and then also four 45 little lips like this. Now the lips is for the joining part of the various parts of the box together. And then I made two of these, which is basically, if you look at it like that, a side, and then once again, two 45-degree angles and two 45-degree lips. And the idea of this is it's going to be mounted on the side of the big box like so. But we'll get to the assembly a bit later on, and then you'll be able to see that properly. Two of those, and then lastly, there's only two rectangular pieces of metal like this. Now the idea is this is going to be simply the front and the back of the box like that. That's going to be assembled and joined like so. So obviously there's two of these, top and the bottom, two of these, which is the two sides, and then two of these, which is going to be the front and the back. Now, how did I get these 45-degree angles bent? Well, I used this little device or tool that I made in one of my previous videos. I'll link it up above and in the description below. And this one is not finished being bent yet. So we're going to do this one now and we'll see what that looks like. Okay, so the machine is once again very simple. You basically just clamp this little arm on top, or the clamp down part down on the line of the piece or the part that you want to bend. Once it's aligned, you just hold it down and then simply tighten the two bolts on the sides like so, one on each side, so that this is being held down or clamped like so. Once that is held down and clamped, this simply needs to be bent to 45-degree angles. Now, because this is a triangle, this is a piece of angle iron, so it's 45 degrees on both ends. So this little piece of metal needs to be bent 90 degrees towards this one, and that would then be a 45-degree angle. So to measure that, I'm only going to take a square like so, and then measure the 90 degrees up while we're bending it. So let me do it. Simply take the handle, bend this one up until more or less 45 degrees. I'm going to measure it with the 90-degree angle. That looks about right. Measure it on the side. That looks like 90 degrees towards the 45-degree angle. And then we're going to loosen this and take out the piece of metal that we have just bent. And then you'll see that the two corners together is roughly 90 degrees. You can just slightly bend this open if it's a degree or two out, but that is the main idea. It's supposed to be a 90-degree corner overall, two smaller 45-degree angles. So now that all the pieces are bent, all the different plates are bent, now it's going to come down to assembly. What I've done here with the upright piece is I've drilled a bunch of holes in the bottom here, even distances from each other. This is about every 2 inches or every 5.5 centimeters. And then all I've done then is put it over the upright piece at the back there. This is the bottom part of the whole box, and I just traced the holes over and I drilled them through as well. So they are nicely aligned now. So the main idea is then to only take some pop rivets like this, and they are going to be inserted from the outside through both layers, and then they will be sprung or popped, or whatever you want to call it. Now, the idea between the two layers is to make it a bit more watertight and airtight, should it rain and so on, to keep it outside. I'm using some sealer. It says automotive sealer. You can use some shower sealer or gasket maker, anything of the sort, whatever you can find. And I'm going to apply some of this between the two sheets of metal when I put them together like this, just before I put the pop rivets in. So obviously I'm going to attach this one. The side hole still needs to be drilled, so I'm going to do that afterwards. And thereafter, the two side panels, which are just the rectangular pieces, they are going to be attached as well. So let me start with these two side uprights, and thereafter we'll continue putting it together. So after I've assembled this whole thing, it's basically the framework for now. You can see that this is the bottom part that I've had. I've attached the two sides on various sides. This looks a bit worn at the moment because I did sand all the rough spots. This is the two different sides, the front and the back. Obviously still a little bit dirty, but they are smoothed out now with the sanding paper and so on, ready for paint. I just have to clean it up a bit and then it's ready for paint. The 45-degree corners on all four sides at the bottom that are going to be covered by some plastic corners, but we'll get to that in a later video or a next video or so. For now, this is just a framework that I'm building. So size wise, how big is this thing? Well, this is according to the space that I needed for my helmet and so on. So the upper part is 60 centimeters or 600 millimeters wide, and the width is 350 millimeters wide, and the height with the base alone at this stage is how much is this? 20. It's about 29 centimeters. This is the total height, including the lid, is also 350 millimeters or 35 centimeters high in the end. But this is what I've got for now. I'm very happy with the way this has come out so far. Don't let the looks fool you. This is still going to be painted and so on, looking very beautiful. I did put sealer between the sheets before I put in all these different pop rivets, and there's quite a few of them. And the size every 5 inches or so. At the bottom, it's a bit more. It's about 3 inches. I spaced the length in equal parts, so it looks quite uniform. The same on the other side and at the bottom. And I am quite happy with that. So the lid, which is the same as the bottom part, is going to get the flat bar, aluminium flat bar rounding it. And that's going to be a lip that covers it, comes over the bottom of the base like this when I put it together. Once I have attached the flat bar to the lid, I'm going to attach the lid to the base here. And obviously I'm going to do that with some hinges at the back, and in the front I'm going to put a latch looking like this, which is going to be a catch latch. It's adjustable and it's also lockable. I am able to put a lock through in the front here. And the way that this specific latch is with the locking holders, if I put a lock there, the lock won't be able to bump against the paint, damaging the paint. This will keep the lock away from the base. So that's quite nice. I was a bit worried that that would be the case and the paint might get damaged because of the lock. I couldn't find an exact one with a built-in lock for this purpose, but that is okay. This is the next big thing, and this was extremely cheap, so it doesn't bother me too much. If you have a case where you don't have one that has a setup where the lock is kept away from the paint, what you can perhaps do is behind this latch, put a little metal plate, maybe an aluminium plate, between the latch and the paintwork, and that will keep the paint from chipping. Okay, so let me get the lid done and attach to this. Okay, so on this piece of aluminium flat bar, I've basically made marks. Like you can see the marks I've made everywhere. And the marks is basically the dimensions of the outer diameter or the outer shape of the box. Now this is going to be the outer side of the lid, and it's going to be like a lip going over the bottom part or the basic box part. So what I'm doing is, like you see that where I've already started over here, I'm putting it in my home built vise here, like so, and it's flat on the level part of the vise, putting the mark at the edge of the vise like that, then tightening in it, making sure it's nice and straight. Now, how do I get the 45-degree angle there? Now, basically what I do is I take a piece of wood like this, a normal block, and since this is an aluminium one and it's very soft, I can then just start bending it around the vise like so. And once I get more or less at 45 degrees, I basically just take one of these angles with a 45-degree angle hook there, put it against it, and then check whether the ruler is level with the vise. If it's not quite level yet, I only take the block, bend it a slight bit more, up until I see that the ruler is parallel with the side of the vise, which means it's more or less 45 degrees. If you have gone a bit too far, you can always just bend this back since it's a bit soft still at this stage. After that one, I then just loosen the vise a bit, bring this out again up until the next mark, like so, tighten the vise, and this is basically just a repeated procedure up until the end, up until I've got the whole shape of the box. And there, once we've got the entire shape, if you look at it from afar, you'll see there's a entire rectangle shape. Now all you have to do is get the length at the back precisely measured out, and then I just cut this piece of aluminium flat bar and to join it onto the box on the outside. Like you can see, I've bent the aluminium flat bar, and now it is the shape of the lid, which is quite nice. It's on the side of the lid, which will also be able to fit over the sides of the base or the body of the whole box. In the front, I've attached the hook of the latch that's going to close the lid. It's been sized. At the back, I have attached the hinges as well. This is looking like so. From the side, you'll see that the hinge is a bit offset, and that is the reason because the inner part of the box is going to be a bit more further in than the lid. So that step effect is necessary. So depending on your setup, you can use different hinges. I've only attached one popper in the middle. I still have to do the side ones, drill the hole there, but that's quite nice. There is the joint of the sheet metal in the back part. Obviously, this is in the back, so it's not as visible, but it will still look nice from the front, which is this part you're going to see. Obviously, the lid itself has been sanded a bit. Going to sand it a bit more because it's going to be painted as well. Now, as you might have seen on the inside of the lid and of the box that I've showed you previously, I'm not sanding and painting the inside of the boxes because I am planning on putting a lining on the inside, but we will get to that as well. So for now, I'm going to attach this lid to the box, and once that is done, I'm going to get it ready for paint. After I've painted the lid and the box, it looks a lot better. It's slightly dirty still. My hands were very dirty while working with it, so I'll clean that off afterwards. But I have now attached the hinges to both sides of the back, obviously, which you can see. I have in front, I have attached the latch, which is going to be working like this. And if you open it, you'll see it on the inside. I have not done anything yet, because I've got something different planned for the inner lining of this whole box. So the aluminium flat bar has been bent and attached around the lid. Around the bottom side, I used some of this material, or it's a finishing, like an edging type of a clip rubber that just clips over the edge of the metal. Doesn't give it a sharp edge or anything like that. Now, before I put this on, the edges, I just bent the edges, the top part of it, just in a slight bit. So it's slightly angled, and this can fit in there inside the lid quite easily when you close it. When you close it, you just put the latch on like so, and you lock it, and this is then solidly closed. Now, this was just so that it closes a bit easier. And once the lining in the hood is coming on as well, and obviously the corners, which we'll cover next, this will be nice and sealed. They won't be able to get dust or rain or anything into it. So that is still coming. That's where I am up to now. I'm very happy with the way this looks. I mean, I also, what I haven't told you, I put a handle on the lid to open it and close it. And on the inside of the lid, I put a little lip. Let me turn this thing on its side. There we go. I put this little piece of angle iron, aluminium angle, on the inside of the front of the lid. So the main purpose of that is if this thing closes, this is basically just going to stop. This is where the lid stops on top of the bottom. And you can see that at the bottom when it's closed, you can only slight but see the edging or the finishing rubber sticking out at the bottom. So that's basically so it doesn't go too far. It's a nice stop. It keeps it in place, very nice and solid. So that's basically it for now. So next thing that I'm going to tackle are the corners, the plastic corners. And we'll cover that in a little bit. Well, that's all I'm going to cover in this video. So stay tuned for the updates, which includes the inner lining and the corners that I'm going to do in a next video. To ensure you catch that one, be sure to subscribe and also give me a thumbs up if you do like this video. If you do want to support my channel, please also have a look at the super thanks icon down below. Until next time, thank you very much, guys.